Hi everyone, welcome on Money. I am Mark, and today I will talk about Leveljump Healthcare, a company focused on revenue, growth, and new opportunities within healthcare. And to talk about the company, I will talk with Michel Geisler, CEO of the company. How are you, Michel?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having me here today. It's always great to have an opportunity to talk about the company, and Happy New Year to everybody as we get ready to start a great new year for us here at Leveljump.
For sure, it's like my first interview of the year, and like I'm very excited to talk about Leveljump. So could you tell us more about the company? What's the story behind Leveljump Healthcare?
Yeah, absolutely. So Leveljump Healthcare, we originally started with CTS, which are our current operations. It's called Canadian Teleradiology Services. And when we started a healthcare company years ago, we wanted to be involved in healthcare for a number of reasons. Obviously, we'd like that, you're helping people, reaching out to people, and the meaning, what that means to it. Because I just think you want to do something that's fulfilling and, makes you feel whole as a person. It's not just about making money. Of course, shareholders, at the end of the day, we all want to make money, but that's the result at the end of a long journey. So we were interested in healthcare. At the time, we were interested in medical imaging and how it pertains to radiology, MRIs, ultrasounds, whether it was having these centers or having some kind of service involved in the business. We were interested in radiology because what we realized as we were studying and kind of investigating the direction we wanted to go in is that radiology, diagnostic imaging is the core focus, one of the staples of the healthcare system, if you will. When people go into emergency room or a hospital, a lot of times they have to have an x-ray or an ultrasound. When they have an issue, you go to your doctor and you say, oh, my back's hurting, my neck is hurting, I don't feel right. Certainly a lot of diseases, everything is always detected through imaging. So we started to realize, okay, not only is it rewarding and it gives back and we're doing something purposeful, but on the business opportunity side, we have a lot of opportunity here. It's not going to go somewhere. It's something that is really a staple, a core of healthcare. It's something that's going to be recession proof. So we started, venturing out as to what we could do. And we came across this company, CTS, and we purchased it back in 2009. And we've been operating and growing it ever since, along with some other healthcare ventures. And about, I guess, a year and a half ago now, we said, hey, we have CTS. It's a growing company. We think we can go to the market, and then we could really expand our focus from there. And that's how we kind of got to the inception of Leveljump Healthcare, if you will. And we said, okay, obviously our core to this date has been radiology services, but what else can we do? And we started to look at the entire telehealth market. Certainly coming, at that time we were in the midst of the start of the pandemic, maybe just a few months into it. We thought we've seen all these telehealth companies. We're like, wait, we've been doing telehealth companies, CTS, since 2000, in 5, we've been running it since 2009. So we're already kind of like experts. We understand this marketplace really well. So we said, this is an interesting story, we think, to bring to the marketplace where we could take the telehealth and grow. So, our mission is focused. It massaged a little bit over, as we became public and look at that and looking forward. And now we're really focused on becoming a services company based on providing telehealth services to remote communities, urban centers, wherever they're needed, primarily in radiology. But now we're trying to expand that into other services as well.
Okay, so we will talk about your acquisitions you did later in the interview. But first, because you're talking about the business and the market, so what's the business model for radiology, and how big is the market?
Yeah, so for the core functions that we have to date of the radiology, the market, the flow is great to basically have flow of funds. Like right now, we service the Ontario marketplace, excuse me, and we deal with the insurance provider, which is the government in Ontario. So we have a really good flow of funds, which is great. We don't really run a lot of accounts receivable. They get paid all within like 60 days, generally speaking. So we always have the flow coming in of money, which is really important as a public company that you can count on and shareholders can rely on. But taking a step back and looking at like CTS, we're one of the leaders right now in Ontario, in the country. We service, nearly a few dozen hospitals. We have dozens of radiologists that work for us. We've kind of entrenched our name, and we continue to grow and add more contracts. The beautiful thing about telehealth, and in this case teleradiology, is that it can be done from anywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we've invested resources, particularly in the last year, in that, we're able to start looking at expanding, not just in other parts of Canada, but we can go into other markets as well. And there's a lot of underserviced areas, whether you're talking about Caribbean islands, you're talking about Southeast Asia, certain countries where they want either Canadian or US board certified radiologists, where they want access to these services. So we really see it, the market size. I know right now it's like about $26 billion, the teleradiology market, and it continues to grow each year. The reality is it's choppy, and we're here, and we believe like we're setting ourselves up for long-term success that we can expand. And again, because it's remote, and because our doctors, our radiologists are the ones that are in demand, we really the world is your oyster in a sense, right? We have a lot of opportunity. You can't do it all overnight. You can't just go into this country and that country, at one time. We have to have some infrastructure and but when it's not brick and mortar, it's a lot easier to supply that services. So we really think we have a great opportunity here.
Okay, and so when you're talking about opportunity, so I guess maybe passing by growth, and so on first, just like the big picture, what's your growth strategy? Because you have acquisitions incoming, so what's the big picture out of it?
Yeah, so for Leveljump, the growth strategy is twofold. One, obviously, is always organic growth. We want CTS can continue to grow, as we've discussed. There's no end to that. Additionally, what you said, we're going to get into the acquisitions, but we've announced some, and we think the acquisitions are important. They're important for us to grow rapidly. They're important for us to entrench ourselves in other areas of telehealth or of diagnostic imaging in the case of some of our acquisitions. So when we bring it all together, it's both organic and acquisition. But when we acquire a company, we want to say, does that have organic growth to it as well, right? How can we grow that so that the pie just keeps getting bigger and bigger? And I think when you look at the telehealth market, it's really still in its infancy. It's really, yes, healthcare obviously has been around forever, but the idea of telehealth is still relatively new. And what we've seen coming out of the pandemic, although right now in lockdown, I'm not sure we're out of it, but as we progress through it, is that healthcare officials, administrators, government officials, everybody is really taking on to telehealth. From that perspective, which is great. In the States, we've seen Medicare codes change to allow for telehealth. Here in Ontario, they are allowing doctors to do, your GP can do a call with you and get paid for it, where before they couldn't. So some of these things, they may not affect CTS today, but it's changing the dialogue, right? It's changing the view of how everybody sees things. And on the patient side, people are used to this. So it's just becoming bigger and bigger. And we believe, as Leveljump, a company that, our operations are cash flow positive, that, we've been around and proven our model, that we've set ourselves up, that when the dust settles from this kind of infancy for telehealth, that Leveljump is going to be a company that's going to be there and growing for a long time to come.
And for sure, it's definitely interesting because, like on a personal way, I would have never thought that I could see a doctor using telehealth, and like I always thought I would have to see like a doctor like in real, and the fact that you have all these opportunities incoming, it's so much easier first for the person that need like a doctor or anything, and also like for the companies. Yeah, for sure, it's a huge place, and there is a high growth opportunity.
Yeah, everybody's just taking on to it now, right? Like 2 years ago, most people wouldn't have thought about talking to their doctor on their phone or something like that. And again, we may not be doing that specific thing right now, but it's just the greater the acceptance, the greater inclusion it becomes, and everybody starts adopting these services, and then they take more interest in what we're doing.
And so, because right now we're talking about telehealth, could you talk about the acquisition you are doing about Telehospital? What revenues do you expect from them? Why is it a smart acquisition for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited about the Telehospital acquisition. So it's a company down in the Midwest in the United States, and its founders, they established this company. What I really like is how similar it is to CTS. They established it because they're in the main city in the state, and what they realized was in the rest of the state, it was underserviced. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enough services. Now here at CTS, we specialize in small urban and rural communities, right? So these communities that don't have enough radiologists to do reading, the patients goes to the emergency room department. They have their CT or their ultrasound, their MRI, whatever it is they need. They're able to then call our doctors to do the interpretation. So we're making sure underserviced areas have service that you or I would expect in a big city like a Montreal, a Toronto, a New York, wherever you may be. They've done the same thing at Telehospital. They've now gone in and they've said, okay, but not just for they're not in radiology, they're in everything else.
Okay.
So they're going out to small rural communities, and they could be small community hospitals, they could be urgent care centers if it's a really small town. But small and small and small really adds up over time when you put it
Mm-hmm.
all together. And they're providing emergency room doctor services remotely. They're providing consults for full appointments with neurologists, urologists, pain specialists as to treatment plans of what you can do. They've really taken kind of like what we're doing with radiology, but they're doing it for everything. So these patients, they go to their hospital or to their urgent care center. The doctor there isn't the specialist, isn't the type of doctor that can give them all the care they need. They then can video chat with the doctor you're with in the small town, get the specialist on the video, and have a proper consult, and then you're still getting that same care that you need. And what's wonderful about that is they've really grown the company. They should have
Okay.
did for 2021 around 6 million US, so closer to 8 million Canadian, because our numbers
Mm-hmm.
that we report for Leveljump are Canadian. But about 6 million US with about 800 to as much as a million in EBITDA, and they're rapidly growing. Like they've been growing like crazy over the last few years. So we really see like them getting up to 8 to 10 million revenue this year with over a million in
Oh,
EBITDA.
this is impressive.
Yeah, and going from there. And when we found them, what they liked about us is myself and our management team. We had experience both in Canada, and we've been in the U.S. marketplace before. They liked the fact that Leveljump was public on the TSXV and trades. It's DTC eligible and
Mm-hmm.
trades obviously down in the United States as well. So they liked all the facets that we had. The primary physician who started it is actually going to stay on, and he's going to continue to run it. And he wanted our business
Okay.
expertise. He wanted our business expertise to say, hey, how do we expand it from here, right? How do I go into other states? How do we go from 10 million to 40 million? That's what over the next few years, that's what he wants to do, because he wasn't sure how to kind of manage that happening. So we really think there's a lot of cohesion there. The impact on the numbers I've suggested to Leveljump is obvious. If we could do 8-9 million or more US this year and have $1 million US of EBITDA, obviously, like CTS, that means cash flow positive operations falling to the bottom line, making sure we're a positive revenue company going forward. So we think that there's a lot of opportunity there. As a side note, what's interesting, they offer literally about 20-30 different types of doctors and services.
Okay.
The only thing they don't offer is radiology services, and all their sites need
So
it.
both are matching really, right?
Yeah, so they're like, oh, this is great. Can we start offering radiology services? And we're familiar with the U.S. marketplace already. We're like, yeah, we absolutely can. We have doctors that are licensed. We can get them licensed in your state, and we can. So we just think there's all kind of synergies, and it's just a perfect acquisition. And going back to what we talked about, our mission of becoming not just radiology focused, but telehealth focused, this
Mm-hmm.
really encompasses it all. And that's why we think that it's just going to be really good for Leveljump, which ultimately will be good for our shareholders.
For sure. No, it's definitely smart. Like as we were saying, like the numbers you are projecting for 2022, they're not like drawn like somewhere, like impossible to reach. As you say, like you have the market, you have all the technologies for. So this is definitely interesting. And so you also plan to acquire RealTime Medical and Show Lens and Show Vision. You took stakes recently in them. So could you develop about them?
Yeah, we absolutely can. So we have RealTime Medical is basically a competitor to CTS. They also supply remote
Okay.
radiology services. And we we thought there's like obvious synergies there. Obviously, it made sense. So we would just had an opportunity that came in front of us to buy out some of their shareholders. So we have done that. There's been a lot of announcements. We're up to pending certain approvals, as much as I think just under 25% or 27% now of RealTime, and we're hoping to acquire more as the year proceeds. So those talks continue, but obviously, as we get up to a sizable position, there will be a lot of synergies there, and would make us one of the largest teleradiology play in Canada, and really set us up to expand beyond Canada into other markets like we were talking about earlier. So it's a great opportunity for us, and I think for the fact that we were doing it to date, most of what we've done has all been a share swap. Preserving cash has been great. So just really exciting to kind of have that vision and be able to see it starting to come to fruition.
Okay,
and then,
sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and then on the Shaw Lens it's a little bit different. It's obviously it's still in healthcare, but it's not it's not in telehealth or radiology, but it's an opportunity that was before myself and our management team. And we love the product so much and believe in its potential that we said it's something that should be, within Leveljump, and then we'll see where we go from there. And what they do is they have a product on the market that it treats a condition for people who wear glasses called anisoconia, which is when people who wear glasses, when they're looking through their left and right eye, and how it signals back to the brain of what it is you're seeing at, there's a time delay, and that creates a lot of pain, such as dizziness, neck pain, back pain, nausea, tired eyes, sleepy eyes, all these things, because you're always straining and your brain is thinking at different speed. They created a patented technology when doctor measures, takes your measurements for your lenses. They take some additional measurements, they put it into their software, and the lens is cut a little bit differently. So when you get your glasses, it takes about a day or two to get used to, but then after that, people who put it on, they never want to take it off because it really cures a lot of issues. So we just believe that this company offers a lot of opportunity. So we're going to continue to try and acquire more of the company because if it's as big as we think it can, ultimately it'll benefit the Leveljump shareholders. So looking forward to that. And that just one more thing reminds me. Even though we're a lot of services company, they have a patented technology at Shaw Lens, and going back to the Telehospital, they actually have a few patented technologies as well. So while we're not primarily a technology company, it's certainly great as we go forward as a telehealth company that we're acquiring technologies that are unique and could bring a lot of big bang, if you will, to the company.
Okay, and about Shaw Lens, are they Canadian or American?
They're Canadian. Their patent is a U.S. patent, but they're Canadian.
Okay, I see. And I was wondering because so for the first company we're talking about Telehospital, you acquire 100% directly. So why didn't you do this as well for a RealTime in Shaw Lens?
Just kind of the mechanics of where those companies are, what they're ready to sell at this time, and and how that gets done. So it's not obviously we want to acquire more, as I've alluded to, so we'll continue to focus on that. And don't forget, in addition to the Telehospital and RealTime, of course, Shaw Lens, that we have the acquisition of our IHFs, which are the independent healthcare facilities east of Toronto that we're acquiring. And those ones we've announced, we have the financing in place, got great terms with TD Canada Trust loan, which is always great to have a big bank behind you with proper loans, a 10-year loan at less than 4%. So that's fantastic. So we're looking forward. We've announced that we've got ministry approval on one of the 3 centers we're acquiring. So we think that'll close, hoping the end of this month. I don't know if with everything going on, it could get delayed a couple of weeks, but hopefully later this month that's going to close. So that also is going to come under the fold. When you start looking at where Leveljump is today and where it might be in 6 months from now, it could be vastly different.
Okay. It was just out of curiosity because I saw they were like, I would say sort of like two different type of acquisition. So I was just curious, like on the strategy you were doing.
Yeah,
And
it's just sometimes it's just what you can acquire. So it's how
mhm,
many what are the selling parties willing to sell. That's all.
okay,
Some people want out. Some people aren't ready to get out. Different terms. So that's all.
okay. And so you are doing so to acquire this company, you gain warrants and shares. So right now you have 88, sorry, million shares fully diluted. What would you be your target or your maximum if you have one?
Of shares that we would have outstanding.
Yeah, in the future.
Um, Never thought of it that way. I think we don't look at it that way. I think a smart management team, you look at it, what is it you're getting for the share, right? So like
Mhm.
uh, people who are watching this, when you see a company just issue shares, like I don't know, to somebody for promotion or something, which they're not supposed to do anyways, but depends where they are, what jurisdiction. But that's not really getting you anything, right? But like if we're issuing shares because we're getting ownership in RealTime or Shaw, or if in the past, if we've done a financing, or in the future if we do a financing, and then we take that money not to put it into promotion, to put that money into acquisitions, generating more revenue streams, creating more positive cash flow, then that's what matters. And then the rest sorts itself out. So I think the real question is, or the real answer is, when you are issuing shares, what is the value the company is getting that is in the best interest of all the shareholders of Leveljump? That's the question. So, we're obviously cognizant. I'd rather not have, you'd rather have less shares outstanding. But again, if you're issuing shares to get a piece of a pie, that's fantastic. That benefits the company, which benefits the shareholders, and that makes sense too. Then we go to the board and we discuss it.
Okay. So perfect answer then. And so because you're talking about, the shares, and we are talking about the shares, so if you are checking Leveljump Healthcare right now, you have only 8 million market cap. Um, would you say it's like the fair valuation regarding all the potential of the company and then of the market? And I was checking, I couldn't find any comparables to Leveljump. So could you give us some numbers out of it, or uh, yeah?
Um, well, I'm there to comment on specific numbers. I mean, what I think our market cap is crazy low.
Hmm.
The idea of us being trading at barely above 1 times revenue, when
Hmm.
from an operational standpoint is cash flow positive. As we mentioned before, we have great AR flow of cash coming in. We provide our services. We're generating revenue literally 365 days a year. There's no day that we don't generate revenue with our client hospital. So before we even get into the acquisitions, just looking at the CTS operations and where we are, I think that being at only an $8 million market cap is extremely low. I think being kind now, of course, the market dictates, and certainly I think a lot of the telehealth stocks have fallen in the last bunch of months.
Yeah.
As people they've gone into Bitcoin or whatever the thing of the day is. So I would speak to a long-term shareholder, and I think if you're a long-term shareholder, you want to look at fundamentals. So the fundamentals is we have a company that's been around for a long time with a proven model. That we have the operations are cash flow positive. That management has been around. There's no management changes or anything like that. We just keep on doing our thing. And then you start saying, okay, but what's the company going to do? That's all great, Mitch, but what are we going to do?
Hmm.
Well, we've announced all these acquisitions. We've announced financing plan for some of it already in place. We're still able, even with where the stock trades, able to do certain share swaps to gain more ownership of our competitor, of Shawlands, as we've mentioned.
Hmm.
So, when you focus in the current operations and what we're executing right now and showing to everybody, if you're a long-term shareholder, it's a great time to come into our stock.
Yeah.
And be it you always want, people look, people know in the general telehealth terms, whether it's a New Path, a Newtopia, Doc, Skylight, all these stocks that I'm sure a lot of your listeners have watched over the last 18 months and go like this.
Hmm.
Sometimes they announce acquisitions, but they're not profitable acquisitions, right? Or, and they paid a lot or what have you. And it's kind of like, okay, where are they going to go? you don't want to be buying their stock at its high. You want everybody said, oh, if only I bought it when it was at its low before the pandemic or something like that, right?
Mhm.
So if you believe in what I've said about our core businesses being a staple of the importance of healthcare, believing in us and our management team and our acquisitions we've announced, there's not much slow for the stock to go down, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity for the stock to go up. And I think fundamentally speaking, everybody has their own system how they might put a value on a company, but I think it would be hard for us to say the value is only 8 million. So I think it makes it a great opportunity for people to take a look at our stock.
When I'm looking at a company and I'm checking the valuation, I was looking at the price sales ratio, and when I saw how low the ratio was for Leveljump at first, I couldn't believe it. And I'm talking with other investors, and it's the same they are saying. They're like, Leveljump is a sleeping giant, and but it's like it's true. Just like talking about the fundamentals, they're way undervalued compared to the sector, and the fact that your company and the management board decided to do all these smart acquisitions for sure for a long-term shareholder, the upside is gonna should be huge at least. And so if we're talking about long term, and for the shareholders, where would you see the company at in 5 years, for example?
Yeah, our goal is, first goal is get to 20 million. This year for 2021, we don't have the final numbers, but we know they're over 6.5 million. We'll see where the fourth quarter lands us, between 6.5 and 7 million. And with the acquisitions we've announced, we want to get to 20 million. From 20 million, it's really to 50 million, and from 50 to 100, and you keep going. And the thing is that as we acquire and get bigger, and because we're so focused on acquiring companies that are also have are cash flow positive and have positive EBITDA, we'll get into a position where as we get bigger, we'll be able to fund our further acquisitions ourselves, right? And we already have a relationship with the bank. So I think, when you're looking over the next 5 years and you say, can this be 125+ million dollar company? We can. I mean, we have to execute, we have to do a lot of work, but I think we've laid the groundwork to get there, and that we have a logical, proper path to get there. Like, it makes sense. You can see our acquisitions unfolding. You can see how we're going to grow them organically, and then find other acquisitions that fit within our mold and all come together.
Okay, so if you're a long-term shareholder, this is the company to jump into, like, for sure. And like, we talk a lot about the company, about the growth, the fundamental, the future, but I would like just to know like more about you, because you are the CEO since 2010, right?
Yes.
And so it's been a long time you are into the JUMP project. So what is the motivation that is driving you to lead like the whole project?
My motivation is threefold. My motivation is I've been a business guy. I've been in some different industries. I was in mining for a while. I've been around building gold mines. I've been in the hospitality sector. I've been in different industries. I've always been an operations guy and tried to have vision. So my three targets are to build a company. As I mentioned, I liked healthcare because of its benefits of what it offers. I like the fact that we're helping rural communities, and our acquisitions are all about rural communities as well. So I like that vision. But the target is build a successful telehealth company. We have time, but make sure that we have strong fundamentals, that we can get to the targets that we've talked about on a daily basis. I love the fact that we employ people and it's dependable income. I like the fact that, I kind of value that relationship of when you have people working for you, that they can depend on that income, that they can put food on their table and that. And there's a lot of benefit, aside from growing the company, there's a lot of interaction with all your staff and people on a kind of human level each day. And I get a lot of benefit out of that. And I think that's really important, because if you focus on all these things, the rest will take care of itself. So, I want to build a company. I want to give back by, as we expand, we can hire more people, create jobs. I think that's good for the economy. I think that's a personal kind of fulfillment, if you will, a professional fulfillment that I have. And then thirdly, I think if we take care of those things, the company will be successful. Not just build a company, but build a successful company. And if we do that, then the stock will be great and everybody will make money. So if you're a long-term shareholder, like I'm a long-term shareholder, then we'll all make money together, down the road, and that's what we want to do. So, the stock may be where it is today, but who's to say, in X amount of time, it won't be at $1.40 or $2.80 or, $6. So, let's just keep building it together, and then, and hopefully we can return shareholder wealth to everybody.
Well, perfect. Thank you for everything. It was very interesting to start the new year with Leveljump, because the company has, like, I would say, so much potential. So it was very interesting. A lot of person asked me to do this interview because they wanted to know more, to discover more about the company. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see where the company will be in the future.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate the opportunity today to talk to you and your listeners.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.